I think the worst thing you can do to a Jewish mother is literally try to set her up with any type of technology. Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Q2Q at OSP. I am again humbled and amazingly and just excited to be chatting with a person that I have known for a couple of years now. And if you're around the theater scene here in San Diego, needs no introduction, theater reviewer extraordinaire, Pat Launer. Pat, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How is this quarantine doing for you? What are you doing?
Oh, let's see. I'm reading, I'm painting, I'm watching, I'm writing, I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm keeping busy. I'm
And,
not
and
going out of the house, except maybe once a week.
so when you do kind of escape out of the house, where do you like to go?
We just take a walk up the street, masked up and everything, and then we're back. I feel like when I'm out there, I feel so insecure. I feel like the air is like alive with cooties. It's like everything out there. It just feels so unsafe and dangerous to me. I just don't even want to be there.
Unfortunately, I have to go to CVS sometimes to pick up my parents' medication,
They
and I
deliver for free.
yeah, I know, and we just figured that out, but I had to go a
It's
couple
so
of
great. I
times.
just got 3 meds in the mail. It's in my mailbox. I said, this is fantastic.
See, I think the worst thing you can do to a Jewish mother is literally try to set her up with any type of technology. And unfortunately, my mother
Yes, I remember that.
falls in that because she cannot get anything right when it comes to apps and setting everything up. So it took a couple of instances, but we finally did it.
That's good.
All
That's
right.
good. Second worst thing you could do to a Jewish mother is deprive her of her medications.
I think there are a lot worse things, if you ask my mom, what we can do to her.
I go out for a quart of milk. I come home and find my son treating his body like it was an amusement park.
Ma. All right, so we are going to play a little game. So this is called 10 to Places. Quick fire, answer as best as you can. Have fun with them. All right, you ready, Pat?
Ready?
Number 1, give us your full name.
Patricia, Gail, Burstein, Launer.
Nice. Number 2, and this is going to be interesting
That
for
was
you.
a toughie.
They get tougher. So number 2, give us your favorite play, movie, and book.
Okay, I am a voracious consumer of all of those things. Movies least of the 3, but so I can't give you one. Let's see. Okay, play, I'm going to say Angels in America, Hamilton, Come From Away. Book, I'm going to say Beloved, 100 Years of Solitude, and The Underground Railroad. And movie, I'm going to say Streetcar Named Desire, Children of Paradise, and The Producers.
Number 3, pineapple on pizza. The world wants to know, Pat Launer, do you accept pineapple on pizza?
Oh, I abhor. I can't even imagine the concept. And why, might I ask, is that so important to you?
It's not that it's
Obviously, you're a pineapple pizza guy.
It's not that it's important to me. It's important to the people. All right, number 4, on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
I'd say 6 or 7, 6 maybe. Where do you rank yourself?
Where do I rank myself?
Turning the question back on the interviewer.
I think weird is fun. Weird is great. So I'm going to give my number a big old number 9.
Well, even Herbert didn't give himself that high.
Number 5, as a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Musical theater star on Broadway.
Number 6, have you ever Googled yourself?
Yes.
So if this quarantine lasts forever, what 2 items. Now, I don't want to say people because obviously, you would bring your significant other. So what 2 physical items would you need to have with you in the bunker that you have put yourself in?
Books, number one, and some semblance of theater in some way, shape, or form.
So maybe like an internet connection so you can get all this virtual theater that we're having in San Diego.
Virtual theater, because I'm going to the DTs now without live theater.
Choose a superpower if Pat Launer were to have one.
World peace, the ability to make world peace. How's that for a superpower?
All right, number 9, which I'm very interested in hearing a professional theater reviewer say, what are your thoughts about nudity on stage?
I was having a conversation with an actor once, and she said to me, she said the younger people are much more self-conscious than we somewhat older people are. She's a former hippie, and so I said, have you done nudity on stage? And she said, Pat, I was nude for 15 minutes in Bug. And I said, so it doesn't offend me. It doesn't shock me. It doesn't do anything in particular to me. If it's gratuitous, I don't think it belongs there. But if it fits in with the nature of the piece, I'm fine with it.
I remember seeing a play that shall remain unnamed because it is local here, and there was some nudity on stage. And I don't know if it was just the actors being uncomfortable because I believe it was either a preview that I went to. It seemed like they were fighting over the sheet to cover themselves on stage.
I think I know what show that might be. I think a lot of actors, even beautiful actors with beautiful bodies, a lot of them are not comfortable in their body. And it shows if they're in a nude scene. And I've seen that a number of times. So that sort of gets in the way of it. If you're going to do a nude scene, then you have to be comfortable with that.
We had a talk back with some high school students for Bad Hombres, Good Wives at the Rep. And it was asked, so we had some pretty risque costumes to open the show. Not even nude, quote unquote, as nude.
Oh, I'll never forget you in that costume, Salomon. That was you in your little lame Speedo or whatever, G-string, actually.
Believe me, you are not the only one that's never going to forget that. I'll be honest, and I even told the costumer I was never comfortable, but it actually, and you could see that when I started doing previews.
Well, it didn't show, so I'm glad you worked that kink out of it by the time opening night came around.
I'm pretty sure Sam had something to do with saying, all right, kid, just smile. I think that was one of my notes, smile a little more in the opening because I wasn't.
Whatever works.
Number 10, and our last question in 10 to places, at this exact moment, in one word, what are you feeling?
Frightened.
I think we all feel a little bit frightened, but some of the amazing things that come out of this, unfortunately, I'm gonna be a glass half full type of guy, is that we've realized how important this community, this theater community is, and you have played such an important cog in it. Since I began, your name has always come up. You always know when Pat's gonna come see your show. So let's chat a little bit about how everything started. So I know you were born in Queens, New York, correct?
Grew up in New York, and we were a very literate, dramatic family, and we went to the theater a lot. So I grew up in New York, went to the theater. I was trying to think of the first Broadway show I saw, and it might have been at age 8 or 9, I saw West Side Story. But I grew up in you never know when you're in the middle of a golden age, but I grew up in the golden age of the American musical. So I was fortunate enough to see the original cast of like all these classic musicals. And when I was in junior high and high school, we would actually cut school on a Wednesday and go to the theater because we could, because it was cheap and it was easy. And, occasionally on Saturdays we went bowling, which is amazing to me now, but mostly we went to the theater.
One of the things that you mentioned right now was the accessibility of Broadway. I unfortunately don't think that Broadway is too accessible, at least economically. Do you fear for, especially with what's happening in today's quarantine, that that could hinder the future of the accessibility of theater because people obviously right now have other priorities? So when we do come up, what do you see theaters, especially I guess here regionally in San Diego, what do they have to do to kind of bring people back?
Well, I think all the theaters, as I wrote an article about this for the Times of San Diego recently, I think all the theaters are being enormously creative in trying to keep audiences engaged and keep them in their thoughts, keep the theater in the thoughts of the audience, by putting out things like this, interviews, by taping shows and actually streaming them, which had never been done before. I mean, the Rep just did it with House of Joy, which I was thrilled about because I loved that show, and it only had an opening night and then it closed, which had never been done before. I mean, the National Theatre does it from England, but we have not had a great history of that. You know, theater is the oldest art form. Maybe rock art is a little bit older, but theater is right up there in an ancient art form. Theater is going to find a way to make itself relevant no matter what, one way or another. And people are so creative now, plus all the social media and other internet possibilities of enticing people to come back. Making things very expensive is not going to be a great way to entice people to come back. Making them reasonable, making them interesting, making them relevant, that's what's going to make people come back. Because people love to sit in a dark place with a bunch of other people, breathing together, laughing together. The actors up there, as you well know, hear the audience. They react to the audience. When the audience is really laughing, you might ramp up your performance a little more than the director might like. You hear the intensity, you feel the connection. Every actor will tell you that no two performances are the same, and part of that is because of the audience. They are a participant as well. So it's not the same as sitting in a movie theater. It's being there and watching things happen live. The excitement of that is something that I think I have spent my whole career trying to convince people of, and I give many talks around the county and telling people the significance of what that experience is. And I think if we can continue to get that word out, we will continue to get audiences. And I know the creativity and the perspicacity of this theater community will continue to find ways to make theater. And we all have to pitch in to make sure that people come back and appreciate it.
Just to play a little devil's advocate, you mentioned things right now like breathing and sitting together and things that, I mean, I don't know if you've seen a movie recently and you see people walking right next to each other and a little bit of anxiety even rises because you're like, oh, we can't do that right now.
Oh, I know. I feel that all the time.
So to segue to that, do you think theaters going forward are going to have to change in now a COVID-19 new world? Are we going to have a seat separation in smaller venues, kind of like OSP? You know, the bigger houses might not need that just because they're larger houses.
Well, my husband and I, John and I, have been talking about this quite a bit, and he keeps saying, I can't see myself wanting to go into an enclosed space with a bunch of other people anytime soon. And so I don't care if they're sitting 6 feet apart, they're still in a enclosed space, breathing the same air. Maybe outdoor theater would become more of a possibility because I don't want to breathe the same air as 200 other people. I don't care how far away I'm sitting from them.
And that is a new reality that we'll have to face, but hopefully, I know all together, I've seen it on social media, we're going to do it together. Let's track your trajectory a little bit. So what did you come straight from New York to San Diego, or how was that move? How did Pat Launer end up in San Diego?
I got married after college. We went to Buffalo, New York for graduate school, and he went to medical school. And then when he wanted to set up a practice, we had come to San Diego. We had loved La Jolla. We had loved the environment here. And so we moved here. And at that time, I was finishing off my doctoral degree, writing my dissertation here at Salk Institute. As a friend of mine once said, I picked my head up from my dissertation and I said, I think I'm in the wrong life. So at that point, I got divorced. I started a theater of the deaf because my dissertation was on American Sign Language. Many people here don't know this, but one of the most prestigious sign language research labs in the world is in the Salk Institute in La Jolla. And that was where I wrote my dissertation. So then I started a theater of the deaf. And then I went to see a show, and this was about, at this point, we're talking about mid-'80s. I went to see a show which was literally underground. It was Blackfriars Theater. It was literally subterranean. The show was Bent, very intense play about gays in the concentration camps. And I came home and I said to my boyfriend at that time, I said, I have to share this. I mean, this was like an amazing experience. Because I've been to big theaters, I've been to big theaters here, but this was something, first of all, the subject matter was revelatory to me. I had grown up knowing about yellow stars, but I never knew about pink triangles. And this show was first produced in 1978. This was mid-'80s. It wasn't that long afterwards when all this came out that a pink triangle of a gay person in the concentration camp was lower than a yellow star. And why don't you write something and go to KPBS? So I wrote a review. I went over there. They liked my energy, and I was there for 20 years. I mean, and Ginny Lynn Safford, who later changed her name to Glynn Beddington, who sadly is no longer with us, she was the director, and I always say she made me a theater critic because her production just knocked my socks off. It blew my mind, and it made me want to tell other people about it. And so I spent 20 years at KPBS, and I've been 12 years now at KSDS, the jazz station, and I continue to want to share my enthusiasm and my energy and my excitement about this theater community and the kinds of things that I see on stage.
It's something special when you read a review, whether it be a negative or a positive one, because I think I have received negative ones and I have received positive ones, and they always, I think, make you a better artist. So from actors' point of view, I always have to thank you guys for what you do. It's not the easiest job, I know. It's probably, you kind of get looks sometimes when you go to the theater, maybe if you wrote maybe an honest review, let's call it like that.
I try to be fair, but I do not always give positive reviews. I mean, I can't. I don't think I'm honest, or I would have credibility if I did. But, you know, what you were saying about from the actor's standpoint is funny, because I will see an actor 10 years after I wrote a review, and they will quote me verbatim something that I said about them, especially if it's negative. Those are the ones you always remember, right?
I think theater reviewers and ex-girlfriends are the ones that you always can like rely on remembering everything about them and what happened. I
don't remember all those things. I write thousands of reviews, so I'm not going to remember everything I said about every person. I have a pretty good memory for the shows I've seen, and in many cases, the people who were in them or involved with them. I wish my memory was good with some other things as it is for that, and that's fortunate to me. I also, on my website, I have an archive that my husband John made for me, the dear boy. He made me for a birthday present, including an archive that goes back to 1990, all the reviews that I've ever written since 1990.
Wrapping up, because our time is limited, I'm gonna ask one last question, and you can feel free.
We're at the end already. Boy, that went fast.
I did. This is and you can feel free not to agree to this question, but if you were to give 3 tips to actors today from the standpoint, from the point of a reviewer, right, or like your pet peeves, Pat's pet peeves, what not to do or maybe what to do. Give me 3 of them. Go.
I just as soon say it to audiences because they drive me a lot crazier than actors do. Be in the moment, be present. Don't overdo it. I mean, try to be real. Try to believe you're an actual person and make me believe you're an actual person. Don't emote, don't over exaggerate, don't over gesticulate.
So excited! I'm so scared!
And don't try to steal focus from your fellow actors.
You heard it here. And don't yell.
I don't know what we're yelling about! It's terrible! She has beautiful eyes and her hair smells like cinnamon! Loud noises!
Yes, thank you. How many times have I said that? Stop screaming.
Remember when you said some actors remember your reviews verbatim? Don't yell, guys. Don't yell.
Yeah, I've said that a time or two, and there's been so much of it lately. I mean, especially in a small house, but not only in a small house. You have to trust the acoustics of the space. I mean, we're going to hear some people speak way too loudly just when they're talking to the audience in a talkback or something in a small space. But yelling and screaming on stage is so annoying.
There you go. I don't
Thank
care.
you for that, because that one didn't come up to me. But boy, I do say that a lot, and I have said it a lot lately. And I don't know why directors encourage it. I don't know why actors keep doing it, but I would say get rid of that little personal dramatic tick if you can.
There you go, actors. I'm talking to you right now. If you stayed for the entire interview through all of this and you're looking, you now just got told exactly what to do by one of the best theater reviewers here in San Diego, Pat Launer. Thank you so much for taking the time. I wish we had more time to go over everything, but we really just wanted to see you and chat with you. And again, from OSP and from all the smaller theaters, because I know you definitely make it out to some of the smaller theaters, and from an actor who's been on both sides of the coin, I can't thank you enough from seeing you at the bigger houses and also at the smaller houses, because your words, whether they be, quote, positive or negative, it just gets the word out to this amazing art that we're so eagerly waiting to join again.
Yes, I miss it terribly, and I hope we get it back soon. And thanks a lot. It was fun to talk to you. Thanks a lot, Salomon.
All righty, Pat. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Take care,
And
stay safe, stay healthy.
I'll
Stay
try.
in.
Like a good Jewish mother. Final words. Stay healthy.